Hey there, everyone. A new moon cometh, and that is what I want to share some ideas and insights around this upcoming lunation, and most importantly, how it factors in to the upcoming Mars retrograde cycle. There's a lot of hints, clues, and revelations, I think, coming through with this new moon. Before I get into the new moon, if you are after deeper insights about this and the rest of December, yesterday I released the material for my Golden Circle membership. So all the members within there, they got 8 videos this month because December has so much to talk about. So if you'd like a deep dive into the major aspects, of course, the Mars retrograde is one, the Jupiter Saturn square and how you can personalize it with some of your own life cycles uh, is included in the December material. This coming Friday, the 6th of December, I am offering a year ahead webinar. We're going to be exploring the landscape of 2025, and it is going to be a historical year for sure. It's going to be up there with 2020 kind of stuff. So if you're wanting to get at some insight on how to navigate these changes with the outer planets, never before seen configurations, and what that might look like for your house structure in your birth chart, that's all going to be happening Friday here, Aussie time. And if you're based in the US, that's going to be Thursday evening. So that's available for sale at an early bird rate now, plus the Black Friday discount code, which is BF 2024. So, of course, the numbers are 2024. I'll pop all of that down below in the description so you can save just a little bit off the early bird price for the weekend. So I think that covers it for all the announcements. If you are looking for a reading as well, maybe you really want to dive in deep into 2025, I've also put all of my readings on the Black Friday sale as well. Again, that code is BF 2024. So you can take advantage of that. I don't do sales very often. So yeah, I think that's it. And happy Thanksgiving. I know I have so many of the subscribers and the watchers of these videos are American, so I hope you had a really lovely day yesterday. So, with all of that done, let's get cracking and we will check out this new moon in Sagittarius. So this really does kick off what is known as the silly season, the parties, the fun, the frivolity, and of course, the spending for many of us. So we've got this new moon happening at 9 degrees of Sagittarius. I'll just cover the details so you all know when this is going to be happening. My time zone is Brisbane, so that's going to be happening for us tomorrow, Sunday, December 1, 4:20 p.m. Of course, that will be an hour later if you're in the southern states because we don't do daylight savings up here. So let me just click this over into other locations so we can see what this moon looks like. So if you're in the East Coast time zone, that's going to be happening for you at about 1:20, or actually it'll be 2 it'll be no 1:20 a.m. I was just thinking of daylight savings, but no, you don't have that anymore. And then if you're in London, it is going to be the 6:21 a.m. time slot. So that is going to be the 1st of December for everyone. Just depends on the time where you actually are. So don't pay attention to the house configuration. This is just what it looks like where I'm located. So what we can see here, just looking at the overall aspects, we do have a relatively tight trine to Mars. So Mars is almost at the station degree. Here at 5, it will station retrograde at the end of the first week of December, about the 5th, 6th, at 6 degrees of Leo. So that's going to be a cycle that's going to take us through until the end of February. So really this new moon is kicking off the theme of what Mars retrograde is going to be all about. We've also got a relatively, it's a tighter aspect. We've also got that square to Saturn. So we kind of got these energies here where we have the speed of Mars. Obviously, it's not traveling fast at the moment, but its energy wants to go fast, hence the frustration of the retrograde. And then we've got Saturn sort of putting a block, asking you to figure out your checks and balances and all of that sort of stuff, and a wide opposition to Jupiter. Now, the purpose of this video isn't necessarily to go into the aspects of this lunation, but what I want to introduce you to is a concept that might be new to some and not new to others, and that is fixed stars. So fixed stars, in a nutshell, I've got a webinar on this on my website. Of course, your code will get you a discount on that, 20%. But in short, the fixed stars are higher in the celestial realm. A very brief analogy I use to describe fixed stars is, you know how you have downlights in your ceilings? I'm assuming they're called downlights in other places, where they are the lights that are kind of embedded into your ceilings. But then you might have a feature light or something like that that swings and that it dangles. So the dangling lights are like our planets. I've got a feature light in my kitchen. Occasionally I'll bump my head on it and it will move just like the planets do. But the fixed stars, or those downlights embedded into the ceilings, they don't move. So if you're born with a planet conjoined a fixed star, essentially what's happened, so if you've got the fixed star here, and then that planet is moving through the zodiac, and each fixed star has its position in the zodiac. So you're moving, your planet's moving, and then as it's going through its sign, it will capture that starlight as it, continues on. And of course, the moon will move past a fixed star super quick, and Saturn will take a lot longer, of course. So essentially, what's happening is, if we take the energy of a new moon, a new beginning, a fresh start, that proverbial seed planted into the soil, and how are we going to perhaps nurture, water, protect that seed to ensure that it grows over the course of the next 4 weeks until we get the new moon in Capricorn at the end of the month we get to in December. So this particular lunation has captured the starlight of Antares. Now, Antares is positioned at, I think, 10 degrees of Sagittarius, and this new moon is at 9. Now, Antares is a little bit what you might think in terms of the wording of the star. Anti-Ares, so anti-Mars in terms of some of the more traditional or Latin language there. So as you could imagine, with a star called Antares that is positioned in the heart of the Scorpion, you're dealing with a pretty potent, angry, warlike, ominous star. Obviously, it's in Sag now because of the precession of the equinox. So in some respects, we could see this particular star almost as another martial astrological, planet, if you like. So we have the wandering star Mars, and then we have the fixed star of Antares. So it's a doubly Marsy energy, if you like. So if you have a point, or say, for example, your ascendant, your midheaven, or any planet, particularly your traditional, so not so much your outers, conjoined this fixed star, you're going to see it as a little bit more Marsy, a little bit more warlike in a sense. I'll give you an example. My son has this on his ascendant, and a story from his younger years. He's still only young, but he was about 3, maybe 4, and we were doing swimming lessons. And they were at this point of their swimming education, where they were gaining more independence in the water. And so, as a parent, I would be, I don't know, 20 meters or something or other from the edge of the pool. They would be up there sort of diving, and then they would swim independently and then sort of come up, grab your shirt in the water and come out. So they were learning to not only swim, but gain more independence. And they were having these little races with each other to sort of encourage that spirit. And my son was doing what he was doing, coming towards me. And I could see as he was swimming, rather than focusing on his swimming, he was watching the guy that was next to him, this other little kid, and they were kind of neck and neck with each other. And I just knew he's more focused on the other kid because he doesn't want the other kid to beat him. And the other kid did beat him because he was losing energy from, watching what he's doing rather than focusing on his own task. And so my son grabs my shirt, pulls his head out of the water, and yells out, "Somebody beat me!" So that Marsy competitive edge was there very, very early on. And I had one of those mum moments where I was like, oh my, my son is just losing it because someone beat him. But I also couldn't say, it's okay, guys, he's got Antares on the ascendant. So it was one of those funny stories. But that theme is a theme. I've seen it many times with clients. There is that sense that they are very steady in the sense it's a essentially the myth of this star is at the heart of the Scorpion. It's sort of a steady, yet it's a volatile energy. So we sort of got to look at this, particularly this new moon. It's Sag, so it's expansive, it's idealistic, it's exploring new horizons, it's open and ready for adventure. But it's also got this streak to it that can be very stubborn, uh, very steady, but volatile. So maybe sometimes you're ready for an adventure, and other times it's like, no, I don't want an adventure. So there is a sense that when someone has a planet on this star, there is a willingness. We can look at the myths and the omens and all the things, and they'll just sort of say, murder and war and that sort of thing. But in real life and in practicality, what shows up is a willingness to tackle on conflict. So it might mean that the person is ready to go into battle. It might be to defend something or protect something else. They're not non-confrontational. They might be willing to take on a project that other people may not be willing to tackle. So even though you have that mutable fire of Sagittarius, there's an undercurrent or an underpinning of a stability that comes through the fixed energy of Scorpio. So there is this kind of philosophical bent, a spiritual warrior to the placement of this fixed star. So we turn that back to the new moon. And so the next 4 weeks in particular, as a part of this lunation cycle, you might be starting to figure out what is it that you're willing to take on? What is it that you want to dive more deeply into that might be spiritual, philosophical in nature? And when we think about that, this is a Mars-like fixed star, and this lunation trines Mars, which is literally at a standstill at the moment. What are you going to tackle? What are you going to take on? So, this lunation may inspire you at a deeper level to see this Mars retrograde as a challenge to tackle, something to take on, something to get more philosophical or spiritual about, as opposed to just flapping in the wind, retrograde, everything's going to go wrong. I don't really buy into that stuff as an astrologer personally. I'm aware of what the weather brings, but I also have free will and choice in how I handle myself in that weather condition. So there is something about this idea. It's a Sagittarius new moon conjoined the fixed star Antares, trining, so not the worst aspect, of course, trining Mars that is almost at a standstill, that is eventually going to retrograde back into Cancer and spend the majority of its retrograde phase. We have the crispiness of the Mars retrograde in Cancer. So there's an area of life, and I'm going to do a video on that next week, but there's an area of life that is going to feel raw, tender, that we have to figure things out around. I'll explain that next week. But there's going to be blessings that come through with that area of your life. So think about your Cancer house, because that's the majority of the retrograde, right? What's going to be churned up? What do you need to sever ties from? What do you need to, old memories, patternings, you just need to cut from, right? And then the blessings of Jupiter and Cancer will come. But don't you think it's interesting that this lunation is in Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, the sign that Jupiter will find its exaltation in 6 months' time, a little bit over 6 months' time. So there's a bit of a feedback loop going on there. But the idea is that this new moon conjoined Antares trining Mars is double Mars energy as Mars is at a standstill and going to go retrograde in its technically worst sign. There's a challenge there that Antares, there's something that, with that Sagittarian will, that Sagittarian mission. I'm going to tackle this challenge. I'm going to take on this project, knowing that it might be for my spiritual benefit, knowing that I can get a fire under me and go through into this Mars retrograde with a sense of not enthusiasm so much, but if this is what the weather is, I can deal with it. There is that, I'm just can't find the words I really want to say about that one. But it's this idea if you can get something from the fire within you to take on the challenge, to go into battle, take on the project, do the thing that Mars in Cancer will avoid, will sidestep, or be passive aggressive about, particularly when it's retrograde. We have a beautiful invitation to kind of get our maybe philosophical, spiritual um, head straight with this new moon so we can move into the retrograde phase with a little bit more optimism, a little bit more positivity, and knowing we're going to get through it. So that might be a really helpful intention to set for this new moon, that you will have that strength, the fortitude, the courage to move forward into December and the energy that will carry us through until the end of February with the Mars retrograde, and know if we can step up to the plate of this challenge that come June, when Jupiter arrives in Cancer, the rewards, the blessings, and the boons from the work done now will manifest. So there we have it. I hope that's helped you. I hope that's helped to rewire your thinking somewhat about how we can approach Mars retrograde with, um, a better attitude than just thinking it's just going to be doom and difficulty. Because at the end of the day, what does that serve? What purpose does that even bring in terms of benefit? I could go on, but I won't. So I hope that's helped. Of course, the Black Friday sale will be available until Monday. Use the code, any reading that you like, any downloadable webinars that is on the my Learn Astrology page on my website. And yeah, I'd look forward to seeing you in the next video, and happy new moon to everyone. I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of the ideas with this video and how might you change your approach moving forward into Mars retrograde. So until next time, have a great weekend.